This is from Luke chapter 5, beginning at verse 27. After this, Jesus went out and saw a tax collector by the name of Levi sitting at his tax booth. "Follow me," Jesus said to him. And Levi got up, left everything, and followed him. Then Levi held a great banquet for Jesus at his house, and a large crowd of tax collectors and others were eating with them. But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law who belonged to their sect complained to his disciples, "Why do you eat and drink with tax collectors and sinners?" Jesus answered them, "It's not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick." I could go back to the first bit and then just leave it there, please. Thank you. So, I want you to take a wee look quick at Levi and Jesus and that moment of meeting. Levi was a tax collector. We also know as Matthew. It turns out he's the one who wrote the first 4 Gospels. So he becomes one of the 12. But he was originally Levi's name. But possibly it was his surname because he might have been from the tribe of Levi. But those things don't matter greatly just. But he did operate, and we know this from the number of times it was mentioned in the Bible, he operated on the north shores of the Sea of Galilee. So it's way up in the, well, not way up in the north, in the north of Israel. But it's not in the north of anything else. And he's up there, and he's in Capernaum. And Capernaum has a bit of a wealthy side to it. It's on the shores of the north shores of the Sea of Galilee. It's a place where important Roman military people and important Israelite Hebrew people, the wealthy, might have had their summer homes, or some of the places that they would retreat to for peace and quiet. But it was also, partly the wealth came from that, but partly the wealth came from the fact that if you can imagine a map with Jerusalem down near the bottom and the Dead Sea, the River Jordan wiggles its way up, and then the Sea of Galilee's up there with Nazareth to one side. So most of Jesus' first year in public ministry was spent around this area. But Capernaum on the north of the Sea of Galilee was on the main motorway from, I'm getting my sides wrong here, from the Far East to the Mediterranean. Right? The main trade routes would have gone through Capernaum or close to it. And therefore, this is an important place for the tax collector, because this wasn't like Robin Hood, this wasn't somebody who came around villages taking money off the poor. This was the person who was employed, he was local, he was Jewish, he was employed by the Roman authorities, and he would have had something like, do you remember the days when he used to go through Dundalk or Newry, and somewhere in the middle of nowhere between there and Dundalk you went past a wee wooden hut in the middle of the road, and if you slowed down enough somebody would land out to try to stop as he tried to smoke the butter across the border. So something like that would be probably much more elaborate. Levi had a place that everybody had to get through. And he would have had Roman soldiers, he would have had officials, he would have had civil servants, he would have people working for him. And they weren't just taking taxes off the passerby. This wasn't a toll booth. This was a tax on the trade. So the camel trains would have had to stop and unload. Everything spread out on tables or whatever, searched, added up, and then taxes applied to that, and that was taken off them and put into the treasury for the Roman emperor. And of course the problem was that this was all unregulated, so Levi could add whatever he wanted. And it was taken off you. If you wanted to trade across into the Mediterranean, or if you wanted to come from the Mediterranean and trade into the Far East, you had to come past one of these places. He was unpopular and very wealthy. Jesus was walking past one day. I suspect he doesn't just walk past, he goes deliberately past, doesn't he? And he goes over to Levi and says, I'd like you to join my little band of disciples. Now there's the first week thought for us. Jesus sneaks up to us. Jesus is all around us. Jesus meets us in the street. Jesus meets us in this place. But Jesus is always on the lookout for another person who might respond. And I don't mean necessarily responding from never having responded to him before or never having known anything about the faith, but that Jesus is always just looking to see who might want to become more, who might want to respond again, who might want to hear my voice, who might want to grow in their faith. He's always on the lookout for that. Now, a couple of wee quick examples of how you can miss this. We were in London as a family a number of years ago. We used to go to, we used to go to watch musicals. We love musical theatre. We used to go to watch musicals. And there was one time we were staying in a hotel, and my daughter Ruth and I were in a lift, heading up to whatever our floor was, and the doors opened on another floor, and in stepped Ian. A footballer, Arsenal footballer.
Ian Wright.
Ian Wright. Right? And as you do in the lift, we were pressed against the back wall, and he stepped in and turned to face the door, but was a distance from us. But Ruth and I went, and I'm sure he could hear us whispering. But anyway, we came to his floor and he exited without us saying, "Is it you?" Now, that happens to us. And could you imagine it happening with the Spirit of God or with Jesus himself? Nudging at us, whispering in our ear, presenting himself in the street, at our place of work, or some other moment when we're not expecting. And we're thinking, is that him? No, it's not. I'm just making that up. I'm just thinking that myself. How are we going to know when it's him? Prompting us to say something, or do something, or give something, or join something, or become something. And the second one was, and I don't think it was the same weekend, but we were actually in the theatre watching Wicked. That means anything to anybody. And it was the last night of person in the cast called Carrie Ellis, who was playing Galileo.
No, the other one.
The other one?
Elphaba.
Was she the witch? The green one? She was the Wicked Witch in green. Elphaba. Carrie Ellis. Oh, supposedly the Wicked. If that means that Carrie Ellis had been doing it for quite a while, and it was her final night, so this was a big event to be had. And sure enough, we're sitting there in our seats, looking forward. We get really excited because there's all sorts of extra things happening in this performance. And one of us looked back and looked around along the row, and there was Brian May from Queen, the guitarist, Bohemian Rhapsody, all that big hair thing going on, sitting in the row, and of course, is that him? Yes, that's him. And it proved to be him because he got up at the end and up on stage because apparently he was a very good friend of Carrie Ellis and had been promoting her career and all of that. And it was him. We got. And that's what we want to be like when Jesus comes up to us wherever it is and says, "Come to me." Or will you ever think of this? We want to be able to recognise the big hair or whatever it is that we get used to recognising that this is Jesus. And Levi, this tax collector, and one of the commentaries that I looked at suggested that Jesus has been operating for quite a bit of time now in that region around Capernaum, around Galilee, that maybe Levi had already seen him and had heard him and knew something about him and watched. Whatever it was, Levi said, "Yes." And amazingly it says he got up and he left everything. Now, you could walk out of the office and just leave everything behind, but what it actually means is he never went back. He literally left it all and followed Jesus. That's quite outstanding. Quite stunning that somebody would do that in a moment like that. For the vast majority of us, that isn't the call that Jesus puts on our lives. But he does say, would you listen to this, hear this, become this? And we don't have to leave everything behind, but you can nearly guarantee you may have to leave something. You may have to set something aside, or make a bit more time, or a bit more space for something that Jesus might want to do in our lives. But here's what I think is the best bit in this story, is that Levi, now I've never done anything like this in my life, in the sense of having heard or suspected to hear Jesus saying something to you. If you go home from a church service, you can read a book, or reading your Bible, or praying, or you've been at something, or somebody said something, you've listened to something, and you think, was that God? Is there something in that? I have never thrown a great banquet to celebrate it. And that's what Levi did. He was so taken with this, that this Messiah person, that everybody was beginning to think, is this the Messiah? Is this the one? That he was so excited by this, that he decided to tell everybody. And he threw not just a banquet, but a great banquet. He got really excited about the possibility that God wanted to do something in his life. So much so that he told friends, colleagues, all the other people who loved him, and cheating everybody out of money and storing it up and spending it widely and everything that they've been doing. He decided he just wanted to let them all know that I think the Son of God, God the Son, has spoken into my life. I read a wee while ago back over Christmas, somebody saying, we need to live our lives as if the only reason that anybody could think we live like this is because God is real. Our lives need to seem so ridiculous to the world, and the only reason could be that God is real. Levi throws this great big party, and although Jesus had walked up to Levi out in the street in his place of work, this was Levi's way of inviting Jesus to come and be everything you want to be in my life. I'm inviting you into my home, I'm inviting you into my friends, I'm inviting you into my wealth, I'm inviting you into my banquet, my food, my party, my celebration. I want you to be in the middle of it all. And that was Levi's invitation. Jesus had invited Levi to follow him, but Levi responded with an invitation to Jesus. Would you come into the very being and centre of everything that is me? And here's our last couple of wee thoughts. How does Jesus respond to an invitation like that from a person like you or me? And allow for the fact here that Levi has a huge track record of badness and of conspiracy and of cheating and of all sorts of things. How would Jesus respond to an invitation from a person like that? Because I think what most of us hear whispering in our ears is it couldn't be me. I'm not good enough. I'm not out there enough. I'm not verbal enough. I'm not, all those I'm nots. I couldn't. I'm nervous. I'm frightened. How does Jesus respond to Levi's sort of sense of just laying it all bare and saying, you know what I'm like, you met me where I work, you know what I do. You can hear the stories of all the people around this town. But would you just come in anyway? And look at Jesus. Turn the page. Jesus does three things. The first is, he takes the risk of turning up. This could have gone badly wrong. Levi could turn out to be the one being as bad as he ever was. But Jesus took the risk of turning up. And Jesus will take the risk of turning up in any of our lives. When we open them up and say, Lord, would you use me a bit more? He will take the risk. And he took the risk because other people weren't going to like it, and weren't going to appreciate it, and weren't going to think it was a good idea. Because we read that the Pharisees turned up and said, what are you doing with him? Jesus takes the risk of using people like you and me. And then secondly, he takes all that's offered. Right? He doesn't say to Levi, no, forget about your big party and all your awful friends and everything. So I'll meet you tomorrow, somewhere quiet, and I'll talk about this. No, Jesus walks in and accepts it all. He says, I'm prepared to work in the middle of this mess and muddle that is your life. I'll come in and we'll start there. And the third thing he does is that Jesus reveals slowly but surely that this wasn't a mistake, that he really knew what he was doing with this person. Because he realizes that, and I'm reading into Jesus a wee bit here, Jesus realizes that for this thing that he's beginning, for it to go forwards, for it to move, he's going to need certain sorts of people in the place. And one of the sorts of people that Jesus is going to need, or this movement is going to need, is people who can write and read and collect information and put it together in a concise and meaningful way. So we end up discovering that this person who's been running, this branch of the civil service and running all this thing that he does, and is very accurate, knows his 7th prime number probably, and is absolutely accurate with everything, becomes a gospel writer. It's no mistake with this call. And of course, the effect of that is that we're all immediately thinking, well, then he couldn't use me, because I couldn't do that. But he does. He uses people who welcome, people who smile, and people who say hello, and people who make things, and do things, and carry things, and give things, and help things, and drive things, and pray for things, play things. There's no mistakes from that. When you hear us, we whisper. To say yes, whether or not you want to throw a party to celebrate it, or whether you want to just get on with it. I typed up the words that night. Yes, you know this. Do you know the hymn, Just As I Am, I Want to Be? Listen to some of the verses. In the glad morning of my day, my life to give, my vows to pay, with no reserve and no delay, with all my heart I come. Those fantastic words. Just as I am, young, strong and free, to be the best that I can be, for truth and righteousness and thee, Lord of my life, I come. Were the whole realm of nature mine, were the whole realm of nature ever, if I owned it all, that would still be an offering far too small. Love so divine, love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my all. And whether that will turn that into a great banquet, or whether it's a quiet thing, it's my all. And Jesus takes the risk of saying, yes, of course. I'm happy to have you on board in whatever way that will be possible. So, will come, all you unfaithful. Come, the weak and the unstable. Will come, barren and weary ones, weary of praying. Come. Come, the bitter, the broken. Come with fears still unspoken. Come, guilty and hiding ones. There's no need to run. See what your God has done. I think life is made up of just a big long series of new starts. You get up every morning, you wash the dirt off, and you put on a new face, or clothes, or whatever. You open a new book, you turn to a new page, you open a new document on your laptop, you open a new app, you drive down a new road, you park in a new place, you meet new people, you serve new customers. It's a long series of new beginnings. And therefore, I'm happily unashamed to invite you to new beginnings as we start what feels like from now this run to Lent and then to Easter, of new beginnings, a new start. So come, all you unfaithful, come, all you broken. Prayers this morning, Joanne and Phil, way over there, were leading us, but they're going to lead us in prayer over there, so you'll hear the voices but not see them. But as an introduction to our prayers, you're probably aware that Chris hasn't been very well, so he has been well enough to make us a little bit better. So he's going to introduce our prayers, or at least take us to a point where we'll go straight on then into the prayers as soon as Chris is finished. So could we...
Hi everybody. So as this video goes on, you might be thinking to yourself, is Chris's speech a little bit strange and a little bit slurred? And the answer is yes, my speech is a little bit strange and slurred, and this is a video to explain why, and explain why you haven't seen me for a couple of weeks. I know that I sound a little bit like Daffy Duck. Or like Ross when he has an allergic reaction to kiwi. But in this case, this is a little outbreak of MS, multiple sclerosis, which is something that Susan and I have both, we were both diagnosed just over 10 years ago now. It's something that kind of comes and goes, mostly goes, thankfully, and we try to live our lives as much as possible with, without really thinking about it too much, but just every so often it rears its head, and this is how it is rearing its head in my life at the minute. So, to take you into a very technical, scientific explanation of it, I want you to think of my brain as being like one of those old, you know the way they used to have telephone exchanges where ladies, I think it was always used to be ladies, did it? Would sit at the desks plugging in the different plugs and saying, I'll just put you through, and plugging in the different connections. Messages come through from your senses, sight, taste, smell, sound. The connection is made through to different departments, knowledge, memory, logic, emotion, decisions are made, and then there's more connections that lead the decisions that are made out to your voice box, if you're going to say something, your muscles, if you're going to do something. MS is like rats nibbling away at some of those wires. So some of those connections are just sort of shorting out. One of the slightly unsettling things about MS is that it's a little bit random. It can be a bit of a lottery, which wires the rats eat. So it can be to do with your muscles, your vision, your bladder, all sorts of things. But in this case, it seems to just be affecting whatever little connections happen between what I want to say and the muscles in my jaw, my tongue, my lips, whatever it is that actually forms the words. For example, say I receive a message from my stomach to say, I'm hungry, I get a tummy rumble, and the connections all make their way through, the ladies plug in the wires and the connections all go through, my head goes through the whole decision-making process, it remembers what meals have I enjoyed before, what food do I like eating, and it thinks to itself, I would really like some sausages, and so it sends a little message to whatever muscles control the mouth and the jaw and the lips. It says, say this sentence, Susan, I would like to sizzle up some sausages for supper. But as you can tell, some little disconnection or short circuit or dodgy wiring in the connection through from my head to that sentence coming out of my mouth is means that it's coming out a little bit strange. Susan, I would like to sizzle up some sausages for supper. Susan, I would like to sizzle up some sausages for supper. Sometimes when I try it a second time and really concentrate, it gets a little bit better, but when I'm kind of just chatting away and talking away, I'm kind of conscious that it sounds a little bit strange. It's been like this since pretty much New Year's Day or thereabouts. At the beginning, I felt very, very self-conscious about it and a little bit embarrassed about it. As time goes on, I'm trying to get over myself a little bit and not worry so much. Every conversation that I have, every bit of chat is just helping me to stop feeling weird about it. And even this is why I'm making this little video. Even this helps to just, start thinking, I can't let this stop me from talking. I love talking. You've maybe noticed that about me. And I'm not going to stop. But that's why you haven't seen much of me for the last couple of weeks. That's just been a wee bit of a process of of first of all even admitting that it's happening. There's actually amazing support. The neurology department in Belfast is amazing, and I've got a meeting next week where hopefully there might be some treatment that will help this, or it might just sort out itself. Sometimes the brain is amazing. It can rewire itself if it knows that the wiring in one particular little run has been chewed by the rats. It can kind of rewire itself to bypass that area, and so it might just clear up by itself. It might need a little bit of medical treatment just to help it along. So that's just been the way. That's been the way 2022 has been so far for me. But still smiling, and we'll get there. And I can't wait to see you all again soon.
Let us pray. Lord, we place into your care today, Chris, and ask that you will mend, restore, and heal the connections in his brain that have been causing disconnection. Please bring him back to full health. We also pray for all those who are represented by this, those among us with long-term conditions that affect life and well-being, those who are suffering at this time from illness, fear of illness, or recovery from illness. Would you bless and strengthen them, sustain and heal them? We pray too for all who have responsibility for caring, whether professionally or as family and friends. Give them resilience and renewed compassion. Pick them up when they are weak. Give them rest and respite themselves. Lord of glory,
Hear our prayer.
Lord, who whispers into our ears that you want us, that you need us, and that you call us, would you help us to hear your whispers and respond to them? May we offer you great banquets of welcome in our lives rather than resistance and distance. Please come in and celebrate with us as we rejoice all that you have done for us and in us. May we as your church here in Belvoir be a shining light, a great banquet, a welcoming place, so that all the world around will know that you are the one who makes the difference, who turns sorrow into dancing and death into life. Lord of glory,
Hear our prayer.
Lord, we pray for our nation. Would you cleanse us and heal us? There are so many things not functioning as well as they could for all sorts of reasons. Would you help us direct our resources to the greatest needs? Would you grow in our society a compassionate spirit that holds all people as precious and worthy of every opportunity to live life to the full? Would you heal the bitterness and the anger and the lusts that drive so many to violence and evil? Please help us to shape a society where all feel safe, where all feel valued, where all can contribute, and where we all can live. Lord of glory,
Hear our prayer.
and we say together, Our Father,
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory,